Gaming Bolt presents 15 boss fights so easy it's embarrassing.
We have a lot to talk about, so without wasting your time, let us begin right away.
Final boss, Fable 2. Lucian's name constantly pops up throughout Fable 2. He is clearly the threat that awaits you at the end of the game, but instead of squaring off against the greatest evil in the world, you drain him of his powers and decide if you'll listen to his rambling speech. Either way, he'll die, but not by your hand. Final boss, Fallout 3. Fallout 3 is a game rife with choices, but the final boss can be destroyed by jumping into vats, aiming for the head and firing. There isn't any struggle, just a button press and a shower of blood. You can avoid it through dialogue options, but the battle itself only takes a couple of bullets and no aiming. Hand of Sauron, Shadow of Mordor. The Hand of Sauron first appears as an insurmountable force, but his demise is so fast and simple that all you need to do is sneak around him and stab him in the back once or twice. Like all final bosses that are too easy, it ruins the excellent pacing of the title and leaves fans wanting. Rodrigo Borgia, Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed's combat has never worked very well for boss fights, and Rodrigo Borgia is no exception. After jumping and stabbing your way through Italy, Ezio crosses swords with the enemy himself, and he falls after one or two sword strikes. GLaDOS, Portal. The puzzles in Portal are real brainbenders, which is why the final boss is so disappointing. It was just too easy. By the time you make it to the last few challenges, the game's difficulty had really spiked, but the fight against GLaDOS was a literal piece of cake. It wasn't a lie after all. Negative Man, Earthbound. Negative Man is another boss that seemingly wants you to win. He literally lets you attack him. None of his attacks leave a mark. He just sits there and waits until you've beaten him to a pulp. Earthbound is a game dripping with humour and style, which makes this a painfully easy boss a little more enjoyable, but just a little. Parasite Queen, Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime flipped the classic Nintendo franchise on its head. Everything was changed due to the shift in perception, including boss fights. The first boss fight may be intimidating and grotesque, but it doesn't move, and it isn't much more than a giant bullet sponge. GOHMA, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Walking into the boss room in the Great Deku Tree reveals a surprise. GOHMA, the terrifying boss to the dungeon, is perched on the ceiling. It drops down and begins its assault. It towers above Link, but the bigger they are, the easier they fall. Or that's what GOHMA teaches us at least. MORTON KOOPA, Super Mario World. Bosses are supposed to be tough, but MORTON KOOPA just waddles to and fro, occasionally jumping a little bit. He just patiently waits for Mario to jump on his skull 3 times, get the key and jog off to the next castle. It's still a fun bout with great music, but you could probably make it through this one blindfolded. Big Bomb Om, Super Mario 64. Run up, big up the giant mustachioed bomb, throw him a few paces, repeat. The first boss of Super Mario 64 is a cakewalk. All you have to do is toss him around a bit and he's defeated. Mario's first foray into the third dimension has lots of intense challenges, but you need to make it past the first level to actually experience them. Giant Necromorph, Dead Space. Finding weak points is always hard, isn't it? Not in Dead Space. The game's final boss is covering in giant glowing bulbs, not too subtle. You just have to sidestep its tentacles as they come crashing down and shoot the yellow bits when they pop up. Cloud and Candy, Yoshi's Story. Yoshi has always appealed to younger audiences, but that doesn't make his games any less intense and compelling. After tearing through the first world in Yoshi's Story, we thought we would be greeted by a powerful enemy. We were gravely mistaken. Cloud and Candy literally goes down after a hit or two, and doesn't even stick around long enough to dish out a couple of his own. Sonic Adventure, Chaos 4. Running faster than the speed of sound doesn't make Chaos 4 a more worthy opponent. The strange gelatin version of Sonic continues to grow throughout the game. It morphs into a hulking beast that tears through the water and lunges at Sonic and friends, but sidestepping these attacks and ramming into him is barely a challenge. Prince of Persia 2008, The Warrior Final Confrontation. The 2008 remake of Prince of Persia is a criminally overlooked game, but that doesn't make the final boss any better. You start the battle by running along walls, swinging off of bars and clambering up ledges before crossing swords with the warrior. This fight isn't bad, it just isn't difficult, which always comes as a disappointment at the end of a game. Jackknife Mirror's Edge. Mirror's Edge is a game about sprinting across rooftops, running along walls and punching baddies in the face. It's a non-stop parkour thrill ride. So why is the final boss so disappointingly easy? A little bit of running and jumping shouldn't take down the final enemy of a game.
We hope you've enjoyed this video, so please consider subscribing to our channel. We do original content, reviews, graphics comparison, and much more, and try to upload a video every day.